We are now. Cool. Awesome. Well, welcome to the Marketing Lifelines Friendly Friday, where we like to share and share alike. And today we are joined by Tom Elcott from Tom Elcott Designs. And we look forward to chatting a little bit about Shopify today, Tom. So thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Megan.
It's a pleasure. And just before we go straight into the questions, yeah, we missed you last week. Apologies about that. Hope you enjoyed the replay, but we'll be back as we are today and next week. And then again, we'll be taking a bit of a summer break back here in South Africa. So just to jump in, I just want to do a quick bio on our visitor today, Tom. Born and bred in Joburg. When he finished school, he moved to Cape Town and studied 3D animation at an animation school. And then after studying animation, strangely, then it was difficult finding a job. Perhaps today would be slightly different, right? So
I think the difference then was the animation industry was so small, especially in South Africa. And the only real interest here was a bit of advertising. But other than that, yeah, animation was tiny.
Tiny, yeah, interesting. And so he landed up doing architecture, which I think is still quite exciting, and 12 years of 3D rendering. So he worked on all projects around South Africa, including the UAE, both interior and exterior renders. And in 2013, moved to one of the largest architecture firms in South Africa, MDS Architecture. They predominantly worked in the retail industry. And he worked on malls around South Africa, some being the Mall of Africa, Ballito Junction, and multiple changes to our Sandton city. But unfortunately, when COVID hit and the entire department was retrenched, leaving Tom with little money to do and live. And so he found some, well, in his spare time, he was building online stores, mainly just for friends and family. And I guess that became his income. As most people who start an online store don't have a clue what they need to do. And I think they also don't always realize how much work it entails. And the majority of people that do want to have an online store want to manage it themselves, right? Because they want to do lots of updates and edits. And so this has become his primary focus, working with Shopify. So awesome, Tom, thanks again. And I look forward to listening and sharing with you today.
Sure.
Cool. So let's kick off and tell us a bit about Tom and exactly what you are up to now.
Yeah, so obviously, I think when the world fell apart in 2020, everybody was sort of scrambling to find anything to do, if you know what I mean. I was unfortunate enough to get retrenched, as I mentioned. And from then, I just sort of branched off into a multitude of things. I still do any architecture work that comes my way, but it's very, very few and far between at the moment. So yeah, I started building online stores. I'd done a few online courses in the past, basically just to, something to do in my spare time and just upskill myself a bit. And one of the courses that I did was a course on Shopify, which I then ended up building a few online stores for. The first one I did was for a friend of mine who's in the leather industry, and he basically just wanted to start selling leather products online. So that was how that all started. He basically asked me if I could do it. I was like, well, no, but let me learn. And then I did, so I got that going. And then, when everything with COVID happened, everything was online, nobody was leaving their house. So everything became completely online. So I started looking at different ways to earn an income. And so many of my friends around me were needing websites, and everybody wanted to get online. Because everybody that wasn't realized now what a mistake it was. And if you weren't online, you were almost losing money hand over fist. So yeah, I got a lot of inquiries. People mainly asking if I knew anyone that could build websites. And then I started sort of taking it a bit more seriously. The more inquiries I got, the more people that were coming to me asking if I knew anyone that could do it. And then I just sort of decided, well, let me take this a bit more seriously and see where I can go with it. And I started focusing on it a bit more. And then, that one thing led to another. And before I knew it, I had 4, 5, 6 stores on the go. And one of the biggest issues I had was there just wasn't enough time to manage all the stores, So I was trying to sort of hand over the stores to people and be like, I can't do this, so you need to sort of do some of it.
Okay.
And then 90% of the people found the whole process so daunting, and they didn't understand any of the processes and how to, simple things for me were not simple for a normal person, that I didn't realize at the time were not as simple as I thought they were. So then what I started doing was I actually started like a little process where I would start to educate people on the back end of Shopify, so that then they could start to load products for themselves or change banners or, simple things that didn't involve any store design as such, but basically just quality of life improvements, things that they could do that weren't too difficult, but also that were quick and easy, So that was the process that I then started to develop, was to then hand it over to people, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore, in a sense. So yeah, that was basically what happened there.
Okay, cool. Now, I agree with you. I've also had a few of those discussions with developers, and it's like, you do understand that an online store is hard work. It's not a matter of putting up your products and then walking away. So, I think either you have to offer that backup services on a continuum, or if, like you say, rather empower the owner of it and allow them the access, because as most of these systems are quite user-friendly to use. Okay, so now we kind of talking about Shopify, as we've indicated. My question to Tom was, is it some fancy term that we can shop while flying? No, anyway, so tell us a little bit more about what it really is.
So when I read that question, I thought it was a bit funny that you said shop while you fly, but for me, it's more about simplifying shopping, simplifying online shopping, and getting to a stage where any normal person can manage their own store, So I've still got a lot of clients where I do a lot of work for them on their stores. And that's a lot of my bigger clients, a lot of people that it just involves more work. And a lot of the time, it's if there's a lot to do, they'll just ask me to do it. So I'm either then charge a retainer to people, or I bill them per hour, basically. So I'm always there to help. I never just drop people in the deep end and be like, off you go. But yeah, the whole thing that Shopify does is it basically simplifies the online selling process.
Okay.
There is, for me, there is no simpler online platform than Shopify. Okay. It looks professional. It's safe. You don't have to worry about a lot of the security issues that you have with other things like WordPress sites. There's a lot of issues that they have with online security. Shopify really do. Their hosting is perfect. I have a Shopify store myself that I don't think it's been down once since I opened the store. Which is incredible. You don't get that kind of uptime anywhere. And also everything is constantly backed up. You don't need to worry about losing anything. Your information is always online. It's always on their systems, on their servers. So just by simplifying that whole process, I really think Shopify have hit a niche in the market where they've really made it that anybody can run and own their own online store.
Okay, that's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about that now in terms of the benefits of Shopify in today's digital day. And even so now during the pandemic, why should people be considering online and also maybe Shopify? What are the key benefits?
Well, look, like we said earlier, if you're not online at the moment, or if you weren't online before the pandemic, you are now. Everybody's jumped online because they've had to.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons specifically why I would advise people go the Shopify route is it's not just an online store. Shopify integrates with your Facebook, your Google, your Instagram. Everything works as like a cohesive little package.
Yeah.
So like something as simple as your Facebook integration. I didn't realize this, but when I upload new products onto a Shopify store, Facebook automatically puts a post out that you've added a new product to it. And while some people don't want that, you can turn it off. It's not but it's a real quality of life sort of thing for me, where I don't have to worry about constantly making new posts. It sort of takes a bit of that pressure off you. And I mean, you'll know this. The one thing about Facebook and Instagram, that type of stuff, is you have to constantly be posting new content. if you're not doing that, you're behind the curve, and then your page becomes stale. People, you've got to be engaging with people on all of that stuff constantly. Also with Shopify, they've got silly things, or it's not silly, but I mean, small things like Shopify analytics. You can see how many people are viewing your store every day, where they're viewing it from, how long they spend on your site, what pages they're viewing the most, what products they're most interested in, where the traffic came from as well, which I find fascinating. I get the most insane people, like links to people coming to my site through DuckDuckGo sites, and all these, like I expect everything to come from Google, and I get these strange little search engines from the middle of nowhere that I didn't even think people use, and it gives you all of that information. So it gives you almost like a little insight into your clientele, and where they're coming from, and where they're shopping, and what are they doing, and what systems are they using, and all of that you can use to your benefit when you start doing your marketing. If you see a lot of traffic coming from one specific site, to target your marketing at that specific area. So the Shopify, it just does everything for you in that sense as well. It even does your inventory management, your stock counts, all of that is live on Shopify. So you not only have an online store, you have a full POS system integrated. You have invoices. Every time someone buys something, it sends an invoice to them. You don't have to worry about a separate invoicing app where you need to develop other things like that. They really have thought about everything. And if they haven't thought about something, you can download an app for it. So Shopify has a whole app store. They are paid for, and there are free apps where you can link in another app. If there's anything that Shopify can't do natively, you'll find an app for it.
You'll find it. Okay, so just a quick question regarding services and products. So Shopify can work for both, right? It doesn't mean you have to have a physical product.
Correct. It becomes a bit more difficult if you want to sell services, or not difficult, but so I had a client the other day that basically wanted to sell time. They wanted to sell like booking slots, and to come up with you can create a product that is called that slot, and you can say it's going to be X amount of money and whatever. But then to come up with a booking system where you have a calendar that it integrates to, and then you have time slots that people can book, that then starts to get a bit more complicated. And because Shopify is not really, it's not a booking management system. It's more of it is an online store. But you can always use the online plugins that there are. So there was one called Apply, which I then installed, and Apply then links back to your Google Calendar. So anytime where your buy now button would be on Shopify, it changes that to a book now button, and they click book now, and then a little window pops up where they select the date that they'd like to book and the time slot that they'd like to book it in, and then that filters through to your Google Calendar, and then that way it then updates you with an email on your Google, and it fills your Google Calendar, so you can't get double booked appointments and things like that.
Okay, awesome. That's just good to know. So not only does it work for hard products, yes, it is probably more ideal for that, but if is something like a service, consulting hours, as he's mentioned, anything is doable, right? With Shopify or the supporting apps. So let's talk a little bit about top tips. What are some of the top tips you can share with entrepreneurs who are considering selling their products or perhaps even services online? What do they need to do before? And would you recommend Shopify? Because as you said, most people don't have a clue what they need to do to start. So give us some of those top tips for the entrepreneurs that would like to get online.
So firstly, I would definitely recommend Shopify, especially for someone that's just starting out. The alternatives that are out there are many, but for someone that has never run a store before, has never been involved with online shopping or online selling, Shopify literally is the easiest way to get started. Okay. I wouldn't say it's the best way to go long term, especially if you have a small product range. Shopify can get a bit expensive. So on average, the starter package in Shopify is $29 a month. And then they also take a percentage of all of your sales. So, I mean, it's a very small percentage. I think it's 2.5 or 3% per sale. But if you only have sort of 4 or 5 products, Shopify really shines when you've got a large product category. That that is one sort of fault, is the price doesn't really. I mean, if you're going to be selling lots of the same item, or lots of one item, that's also fine. You know, but if you're a relatively small person with a small start out and you only have 4 or 5 products, then it might not be the most ideal solution. Then I would probably look at something like WordPress, which is it is a lot more complicated to get going. But if you're only having 4 or 5 products, you know, then it would make a lot more sense to avoid that Shopify monthly fee.
Okay.
One thing I would say, you know, about someone that's starting out a store, one piece of advice I can give anybody is you have to have patience. You know, you can't start your store and think, okay, great, I'm going to be making money tomorrow. I think I read an article the other day that said the average Shopify store takes 850 unique visitors to that store to get its first purchase.
Wow.
Which is a lot. You think about that. You know, obviously that's an average. There are going to be the outliers. If you have a large social media following and then you start an online store, obviously that's going to assist. You know, if you start doing paid marketing from day one, that'll also help. One of the things that I would definitely suggest is you get your Google ads and all that in line, because if you're not pointing people to your site, no one's going to get, you know, your organic traffic takes years to develop a decent organic traffic flow to your site. People that are just Googling items, if you're not set up with your Google products, your Google Analytics, all of that stuff, they're never going to find you. You know, so you can't think you're going to, I'm going to start a store and it's going to pop up and now people are all of a sudden going to start buying. Yeah. You know, you always, obviously people start out with friends and family, you send your stuff to them. You know, word of mouth does help, you know, it does exist. That definitely has its place in the market. But, you know, if you're serious about growing your store and things like that, you can't be afraid to invest that money in your advertising.
Awesome. Okay, so
and also, sorry, one more thing there from my side. A lot of people jump into Facebook marketing, you know, and for me, Facebook marketing definitely has its place as well. I don't disagree with that. But for what I found, Facebook advertising generates a lot more traffic to your site. It generates a lot more like brand awareness, but it doesn't necessarily translate into sales. And I'm not sure why, but that's my experience. From my point of view, Google is where you need to be if you want to increase your sales and your conversion rate on your store. Facebook is more where you want to be to gain brand awareness, get people, you know, to know your store, know what you're about, that type of stuff.
Yeah, so basically multi-channel kind of marketing strategy to, as you said, drive people to your site, because I think it's like a website anyway, isn't it? Just because you've got a website out there, it doesn't mean anyone's going to find you unless you take people to it. So just in a nutshell, Shopify definitely works if you've got possibly a multiple range of products, maybe not suitable for a small range of products, but definitely a nice, easy one to start with. Most importantly, maybe let's put the patience at the end. Let's say having a kind of supported marketing strategy or plan to have people driving traffic to your website through Google Ads and also using Facebook as a platform. And lastly is then having patience, you know, give it time. As you've said, 850 unique visitors to get your first purchase. So be patient, takes time. And if you're not seeing the results, then kind of look back and see where people are coming from, because you have those stats available through Shopify, and maybe invest some more money in where they are coming from. So those are the top tips. Is that all you have to share then? Is that good? Did I cover all of them for you?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Perfect. Thanks, Tom. And then just in finishing off, always like to ask an opinion question, because it's nice to hear everyone else's opinion. And it can be above or below, go wild. But anyway, the question of opinion is, in your opinion, what do you think we are going to see in the near future being sold online? Because I think already COVID has posed quite a few different things online. So what do you think you'll be seeing more online and being sold online?
Look, that's something we already briefly touched on. I think there's going to be a big drive towards people selling services online. You know, especially things like, I know for a fact during COVID, there was a big mental health issue. and people had a lot of issues seeing psychiatrists, people that they were seeing on a sort of monthly basis that couldn't get to, and things like that, where people offer services where you can do something, over Zoom or over something like this. But definitely that type of stuff being sold online, I think, it's actually probably there already, to be honest. I think people definitely moved in that direction very quickly because there were a lot of things that people needed, that people need human interaction. People need that social aspect of life, and getting that, obviously when people are paying for that, there's a way that people need to work that transaction, and if you're not going to someone's rooms to see someone, especially, or I suppose also things like your doctors and things. I don't know if you've seen this new thing from Discovery where they send you a few sensors, and you can basically test your whole body for a variety of things, and your information shoots straight off to your doctor, and they then diagnose you based on the information that these sensors have given you. So I think definitely services being sold online is going to be a big part of the future.
Awesome. Well, then I guess Shopify is going to have to pull up its socks, and then have to better, incorporate the services, because I totally agree. I mean, same with me. My services are all online now. No longer do I need to do workshops in front of a group of people. We just do group sessions online. Same with yoga. People go to gym and attend yoga classes online. It's like it's kind of become acceptable. I do agree with you to some extent. People want face to face, but I think from a convenient factor, and with where we are at the moment, with things still kind of coming and going, and these waves coming and going, I think online is definitely going to thrive in the services capacity in the next couple of years. So totally with you on that. I will unfortunately still be going to shopping centers, because there's just something that a real store gives you that online doesn't, right? So
I think one of the downsides to online shopping is, people also like to see stuff. They like to touch it. They like to feel it. That is a big thing. One of my stores that I run, what I found is, so not having a physical store, I often get people calling and saying, do you have a product? Can I come and see it? And it's like, well, yes, but we are predominantly an online store. And then they say, okay, but they just want to see what the quality is like and stuff before they buy it. And that's a lot of the newer people, return clients that are buying something that know what it's what the industry is like, or what, they're not even concerned about quality. They're more concerned about knowing what it is and getting it. The quality, people that are buying something for the first time, that are new consumers, they want to touch and feel, and they're very textile based. But to the more like established online shoppers, they just want it as quickly as possible. That's for them to click and buy, get it to them as quick as possible.
Agreed. Awesome. Okay, well, thanks so much again, Tom, for joining us today and sharing with us a little bit more about Shopify. It's definitely been an interesting conversation, something quite new for me as well. You see, I thought it was about shopping and flying. It's about shopping and simplifying. Anyway, so until next week, we will be speaking to Ethan Baird from Baird Media about repurposing your content. And please, if you did enjoy today's interview, you're welcome to give us a comment or even share it for us on the different platforms, wherever you viewed it. We'd really appreciate that. And until next week, same time, same place. We'll see you then, and have a good weekend. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks for having me. Thanks. Ciao.
Ciao. Bye.